Hello and welcome. My name's Super Saiyan and this is your monthly Q&A video. This will be the questions and answers video for November. Thank you ever so much to all of you that have put your questions in the previous Q&A video and also in the Discord server. You can find the Discord server on the main page of the channel under the About section, or there's a little icon of the Discord symbol. Click that and that'll take you to the server. Please come and join us over there. I typically frequent the server after pretty much every live stream and on most evenings. It's also a great place for everyone to communicate with each other and share pictures of your most recently painted or built miniatures. So let's get into it. So we'll pick up where we left off, and this question comes from Mordian L7. What is the origin of your nickname? Seeing as you never did any Dragon Ball related content, I wonder if it's maybe been your gaming message board nickname since way back. I definitely did love DBZ back in the 2000s like many others, and we for sure all loved to replace letters with numbers back then. I think that still goes on, replacing letters with numbers, but the origin of the nickname was my gamer tag, and it still is my gamer tag on the Xbox. On Xbox Live, I did get an original Xbox, but I didn't join live until the Xbox 360, way back in 2005. Winter 2005, I got a 360 and joined live, and I was really happy with it. And, 15 years later, the name's still stuck. My PlayStation ID is Super Saiyan 2, because some cheeky person managed to get Super Saiyan. But that's still fine. So that's the origin of the name. Nothing really to do with Dragon Ball Z at all. It's surprising how many people try and connect the dots between an avatar or a username with the person. In terms of, oh, that person's name is, something, and they've got an anime character. They must be a female, and they must love this anime. No, that might not be the case. People have names and avatars for whatever reason. I mean, I could quite easily assume your nickname and picture, Mordian. I'd say you've got a massive Mordian army full of lots of tanks, and that's the origin of your name and your avatar picture. But in all reality, it might not be anything to do with that. There's all kinds of reasons, and really the name might not have anything to do with the person. I have watched Dragon Ball Z a few times, but I nowhere near would call myself an avid fan. I don't own any of the Dragon Ball Z series in physical form. I don't have any of the statues or action figures. But anyway, that's where the origin of my name for the channel came. I was thinking, the channel originally started with knife content and only moved to Warhammer content, I think a year or two after creating it. So the plan was never to release any Dragon Ball Z content, but my username did change, and in the end I just thought, right, I'll just stick with the username I've got on Xbox Live. So that's where it came from. Zila FX asks, do you still ride your CBR, or do you only have the BMW now? Yeah, I do ride the CBR now and again. You will see some of the content on the channel of it, but whenever I go out and record on the GoPro, I'm typically on the BMW, and I ride with one of my friends, and he has a CB1000, and yeah, I like to keep up with him. There's a bit of a difference between a 600 and a 1000cc bike, especially these types of bikes too. Next question comes from Rogue. What's the best value starter set in your opinion? Any of the starter sets that you can pick up for £50 on the Games Workshop's web store. They used to cost £50 back in the day. Now the only three that you can pick up, well, the Space Wolves one is out of stock, but there are two there, the Stormcast Eternals, Thunderstrike Brotherhood, and the Khorne Bloodbound Goreblade Warband are still 50. Failing that, the ones that are 55, or the ones that have 4 units. The Start Collecting Drakari look to me like they've got 4 units. The Demons of Nurgle have 4 units. The Orc set has 4. The Craft Worlds one has 4, and that used to have 4 as well. The Craft Worlds one's still £55. But then when you move into the £60 ones, it's harder to justify. Specifically, the Adeptus Mechanicus one that only has 3 units. I think 4 should be where Games Workshop are aiming at. Of course, now it's become very controversial because they're releasing these new Combat Patrol box sets for £85. So they've jumped from £50 to the 60. They're now £85 for just 4 units. And all intents and purposes, my belief is that they should be £50 still. They are a start collecting set. They should get you into the hobby, but also it's Games Workshop's way of giving you some kind of reward scheme and buying in bulk. It would not only provide a sweet entry price into the hobby, which, let's face it, will get people to buy more products, hopefully, and also it's a great way of padding out your existing army, which you've probably already spent a fair amount of money on. So it's a win-win, and I'm baffled as to why GW think it's a good idea to start pricing people out of the hobby from the start, really. So I hope that answers your question. I went off on a bit of a tangent there. The next question comes from 8-Bit NPC. How much experience would you recommend before getting a Froge, I know it's Forge World Titan, of any kind? I would strongly suggest you start off with like a character, a small character, like a £20 character or so. That would get you a little bit of experience with super glue, mould line slippage, preparing the resin, washing them, used to the small parts, used to clipping them off the gates. Then I'd progress to a Contemptor Dreadnought. You can go for a normal Contemptor, but there's no instructions typically. Or you can, spend a bit more money and go for a Leviathan, which is a lovely kit, or even, dare I say, a Telemon, but that's specifically for Custodes. And then I'd progress to a Sakaran or any kind of resin tank from Forge World that has sponsons and a turret. Then I would say that you're ready to a Forge World Titan. The most difficult Titans are the older ones, so that's the Warhound and the Reaver. They're both very tricky. They've got lots of parts, lots of magnetization. You're going to have issues with them. The instruction guides, I wouldn't really call them guides. They're just pieces of paper that are bundled with these hundreds of pounds worth of miniatures. So there's lots of factors there with those kits that make them difficult. The Warlord and the Warbringer are easy. They're bigger. They've got more parts, but they are easier than those 2 starter ones, and that's quite ironic because they're also the most expensive. But if you get a character, get a Contemptor, get a Sakaran or turreted resin tank, and then you start with the Warhound, then if you can build the Warhound, you should be able to build the Reaver. And of course, if you can build those 2, yeah, the Warlord and the Nemesis are going to be a doddle. And the main reason I say that is because you start with the smaller Titans. It's not going to be the end of the world if you make a mistake, because they're, I say, cheaper. They're still expensive kits. That's the way I would go for it. Join the Discord. This is where the questions are coming from. There's a few of us on there that do have Titans now. Don't be afraid to ask any questions that way. The community is awesome, and I do have some guides for Titans on the channel as well, if you do get stuck at various parts of the build. So I hope that's answered your question, 8-Bit. The next question comes from Numo. Will you start collecting other armies at some point? Imperial Guard, Tau, Tyranids, or something else? Well, I do collect Tyranids. I've got a medium size force with a couple of Forge World models as well, like the Dharmakir and the Melanthrope. I'd love to get the Bio Titan. I just think it's too expensive now for what it is. When it was originally priced quite a few years ago, that was reasonable, a bit like the Eldar Titans. But yeah, for what they are and the instructions, and they're very expensive now for what you get. Imperial Guard, if there was a refresh, I would. I mean, Deathcore Krieg, I absolutely love the look of them, but I'd be partial to a refresh plastic Katachan Imperial Guard. I'm not so stoked about Cadian or Mordians or any of the other sort of Imperial Guard. Tau, I do like the big mech suits on Forge World, and I think the Manta would be a great project to go through on the channel. But no, I don't collect Imperial Guard or Tau, but Tyranids I do. You know, I do collect 15 armies, and whenever new models or codexes and things come out, I try and cover them. So that's still, you know, a large, wide scope. And Age of Sigmar, I've now got the Demons of Nurgle, Khorne, Slaves to Darkness, Lumineth Realm Lords, and Sons of Bahamut, with the prospect of collecting Ossiarch Bone Reapers and Daughters of Cain at some point. So I think I'm covering what I can, but you never know. There is scope to collect the other armies at some point. It depends on whether I like the models. The next question comes from Echo One Actual. What Games Workshop 40k range has the best models and why? What a fantastic question, Echo. Thank you so much. It's such a difficult question to answer because it is personal preference. It's what you like as a person. It's reflected on your own tastes. I'm not skirting around the answer here, but I think it's a personal one. Has the best models. That would be all in my opinion. And I think the force that has the best models now, in my opinion, would be the Adeptus Sororitas. As much as I like the Imperial Knights, there's only really 3 kind of different classes with the different weapons. As much as I like Space Marines, I think on the whole, if you look at all of the Space Marines, they've got the Legacy Space Marines and the Primaris, and it's, I say, confusing in terms of the size. There's not one uniform number of them. Now, at least with Sisters, there is, because they started from the ground up, so they have a strong foundation, a strong footing. If Games Workshop had refreshed the Missionaries and the Preachers, the other sort of ecclesiarchy models, I think that they would have been on a winner. As much as I love the Death Guard as well, and all their models, and Mortarion, and the tanks, and the detail and things that they've sculpted, they are let down again by some of the older models, like the Demon Prince and the Chaos Spawn, and a couple of the older kits like the old Rhino and things like that. The Necrons, they are up there. They really are, just from the variety of the models. But again, they're let down by some of the older kits. The Void Dragon is stunning. The Monolith is a big chunky kit. The Silent King is fantastic too. But they're also let down by some of the older models. We're at the stage now where there's a few of the armies, like the Primaris and the Necrons and the Sisters, that have had, and the Death Guard, that have had newer models. But there are some of the armies, like the Orcs, like the Eldar, like the Tyranids, especially the Astra Militarum, that are severely lacking in their model refreshes, and have some extremely old models. So that's why they can't be included. So I think it's a very individual question, but I would look at the range on the whole, and I would view it as some individual models bringing the whole range kind of down. I'd also look at the variety. I mean, Necrons have that massive variety in the sizes and the function of the models, compared to something like Marines. I think Eldar need a refresh of the current range. I think Tyranids need to introduce newer creatures, bigger creatures, much smaller creatures, all kinds of things. But if there's a range that captures 40k more than the others, it would be Sisters, with that religious, fervent worship that they have. I'd like to see them have more. I'd like to see there be more Grimdark in all of the ranges, but I think Necrons are certainly getting that way. The next question comes from Dark Omen. If you had to design a model for one 40k faction, what would it be and why? Another incredible question, my friend. Thank you. Of course, you know what I'm going to say here. You just know. I'm a Titan Princeps through and through. I would love to give feedback to the legendary Will Hayes and Darren Parwood and assist them with their creation of a Emperor class Imperator Titan. I would like to think I could assist them in some way. I mean, they're legends anyway, in creating one of those absolutely epic models. Everything from the look and the function of the legs, to the size and the detail of the head and what's going on in there, to the carapace and whether it has a detailed interior, what buildings and structures are on the top of it, the size of the weapons, and the enormity of it. That would be my ultimate. To a lesser extent, the Overlord, super heavy flyer transport for Primaris. There's not a lot of description of it out there, but I could certainly give my 2 cents in terms of avoiding an Invictus or ATV kind of scenario where they just make it look a bit too funky. I think the Corvus Blackstar is a great looking flyer, and I would probably base some of the looks of it for that. I know I gave you 2 models there, Dark Omen, but that's where I would focus my efforts. Okay, the next question comes from the Crazy Inventor 64. Will you ever do non-Games Workshop tabletop game on the channel like Bolt Action? Yes, I would be interested to do non-Games Workshop games to feature on the channel. It's just a question of time and content, really. So over the past sort of 6 years, I've created Warhammer content. It's been mainly 40k. The past couple of years, I've gone into some new directions. I covered a bit of the Necromunda stuff. I've been covering Adeptus Titanicus, and I still cover that, along with Horus Heresy. So there's quite a few Games Workshop Forge World things that I do cover, but this is mainly a 40k channel, and I try and cover all of the releases that they release. So for me to go in a completely new direction of sort of non-Games Workshop stuff, I wouldn't want that content to get buried into all of the videos I do make. For the past month or so, I've been creating at least 2 videos a day. At the weekends, it's been many more, and I ventured into the wide world of live streaming and holding 3-hour streaming sessions. So the answer is yes, I would, but I'm not sure whether I could do it justice unless I looked at them from a complete newbie perspective, and I don't know whether that would be as much value. I don't think I could bring much value to those videos as I currently can to 40k and Warhammer, with well over 20 years of sort of hobby experience. You know, those new game systems and things would require me to invest a lot of time getting to know them and learn them, only to possibly be shot down by a lot of much more experienced hobbyists in those fields. The next question comes from Brother Chaplain Fryer. Will you ever do a battle report? It's an age-old question I have had since I was 9. I do have a battle report on the channel somewhere. The plan was to release more. I don't do this as a living. I work a full-time job, part-time job, and then releasing 2 videos a day at the moment takes a huge chunk of my time. So much so that I can't just sit there for 8 hours and play a video game or paint. I have very little time for myself, and battle reports would take not just the amount of time to play the game, 2-3 hours, but also I would want to do a good job and heavily edit them and put some effects in and things like that. It's a possibility. Where I live in Norfolk, I'm a fair distance away from the store, and also there aren't any clubs around me. So yeah, it's difficult to get a game, let alone do a battle report. I mean, yeah, in some ways, having a family member that is into this hobby has its benefits. And yeah, if I had the opportunity chance to do one, then I will do one. There's also this thing called the COVID, which is yeah, clearly affecting. We've just gone into another lockdown for a month as well, which yeah, it's not really essential for me to be traveling around playing with little models at the moment. But yeah, it's definitely on the cards, Brother Chaplain Fry. I'd love to bring some kind of battle report. I have got a plan with another guy on Instagram who's got a similar number of Titans as me to do a Titan battle, and yeah, I'll make sure I'll do an incredible job of that for you. The danger of doing that though is it's so good that people want more and they want it quick and they want it free, and yeah, it puts a lot of pressure. I mean, it puts a lot more pressure on me to do all of these things, but I think I've found a happy medium with interacting with people on Discord and putting up these live streams every week. And that's kind of the end of this November Q&A session. I still have your questions from October and from the previous YouTube Q&A video. Fear not, they will feature in the December Q&A video. I wish I could do one of these a week. I really do, because you have so many questions and you ask so many questions in the live streams, which is fantastic. Keep them coming. Put your questions in here, but I would prefer you to put them in the Discord server in a specific channel. It just makes it so much easier for me to grab them and to you know, copy them and put them in these videos. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I've answered quite a few questions today. It's been quite a big, thick Q&A video. As always, I appreciate your support. Thank you ever so much for joining me today. Thank you for watching. The Emperor protects.